So Corsair stock, what a horrible day yesterday it was. They released preliminary earnings and they were awful. And we're going to go through that today, my thoughts on it, what my future is with Corsair stock. A lot of you guys asked if I could do a little bit of an update after these earnings, and yeah, we'll do all that for you guys today. So yeah, Corsair, a stock that I own, a stock that I have been invested in from I think earlier on this year, maybe about March time this year. So a newish position, starting to be in there for a bit of a longer period of time, but still quite early on in that 2 to 5 year period. But obviously a few months into it now, and it has took a bit of a beating. The drop that has happened today, which was an 8% drop, basically has put me somewhere. I think it's about 12% down on this position. So yeah, I am down a little bit on this position right now. And yeah, it dropped to 8%, and the reason why, preliminary earnings. So if we have a flick across here, you'll see Corsair brought some preliminary earnings out, basically came out and said, look, this next quarter, it's not going to be good. And yeah, I mean, there wasn't much detail there, just apart from a little bit of a heads up that it's going to be bad. But from what we can see, it looks like it's going to be a miss on revenue. It looks like it's going to probably be a miss on earnings. And it looks like the outlook as well has been downgraded. So you've got a triple miss there. So looking at Corsair stock, when you have a triple miss like that, to only be down 8% actually isn't too bad. Something like that can generally take your stock down 20%. So yeah, to be down 8% wasn't actually that bad. When I saw that, I thought, oh, that could affect the share price a little bit. And yeah, I thought it'd be a lot more than that, especially when we consider their last quarter, which was Q2, I believe it was. Their Q2 was actually pretty good, and the stock went down 8%. So we actually had the last quarter was actually pretty good, and the stock went down like 8%. And now we've actually got to a quarter where, even as a shareholder, I can't defend that quarter. I can't say, oh, it'll be okay. That quarter was horrible. But at the same time, the share price was down the same from a very good quarter to a very bad quarter, which just sums the stock market up. It's a guessing game how sometimes the market is going to react to certain things. So yeah, I guess the 8% drop kind of says that, yeah, we missed earnings, we missed revenue, we've had an outlook downgrade, and for the stock to be down only 8% kind of sums up like how low this stock is in valuation. Like if this was a stock that had a big valuation on it, you would have seen the share price drop. But the fact that this company has already been downtrending since its IPO in November time, and I think the fact that since its IPO it's already down 50%, you can see here the valuation is already very cheap on this. And I think because it was very bad news, but the share price didn't react as much as what it potentially could have done, I think it says a lot about where it is right now, and that it is really down in the dumps on a share price point of view. But yeah, it's still obviously it deserved to go down after that preliminary earnings. So yeah, that was to be expected. But yeah, they came out with preliminary earnings, basically giving us a heads up saying that the next quarter is not going to be that good. Fair play to the management team. I've got to say that there's a thing here where management team could have just not said anything, waited until we got to earnings, and then boom, we get hit with this news, and that would have been a lot worse. So fair play, to the management team for coming out and saying this. We appreciate it as shareholders rather than leaving us to earnings, I guess. So we're a little bit of a positive on a lot of negative news here, I guess. Going through here, you can see that the Andy Paul, the CEO, came out and said, we continue to see 2021 as a strong growth year over the exceptional results from 2020 and building on acceleration of gamers and streamers buying gear for the first time or upgrading faster than in the past. We are several years ahead of growth expectations before our IPO in 2020, and we believe that this is setting a new base for us to grow on. Despite this backdrop of growth, we believe that our 2021 net revenue has been held back by at least 10% by global logistics and supply chain issues, especially by the lack of affordable GPUs in the retail channel. So yeah, as you can see here, supply chain issues, as the video that I made yesterday, basically saying, look, be careful. We've heard this from Boohoo, we've heard this from ASOS, now we're hearing it from Corsair, supply chain issues. And them supply chain issues are to get the products, and then after getting the products out there, it's a struggle. You got two problems here of getting the products and getting them out there. So that's the problem. You're not having the products to sell, and as well as not having the products to sell, the shipment cost, the container cost, especially as a Corsair that sells these products worldwide as well. To get these products out, the shipment costs have gone up like 3x in like the last 12 months. So you've got to factor that in. So there's a lot of problems here with the supply chain issue. So it's good to see that it's something, this problem that with Corsair isn't like a sales problem. If it was a sales problem, that's the worrying thing. But because this is an issue that's affecting a lot of companies, and we have that confirmation through other companies reporting the very same thing, because this is a supply chain issue and a logistics problem, that's a lot better, because you think, well, at some point that's going to sort itself out. When it sorts itself out is the $1 million question. Will it be 3 months? Will it be 6 months? Will it be a year? And the cost of logistics as well, you would think that would sort it out, or they'd get to a point where Corsair increase their prices to cover that. Now that won't be actually down to Corsair, that will be a general thing that everyone does. You'll see a general increase of prices where you go out anywhere, day-to-day life, you'll just see everything kind of go up in value, and that will catch up to the prices, and that's going to happen. It's just when is that going to happen? So from an earnings point of view, yeah, it's not great. From a preliminary earnings, from what we're seeing, it's bad news, and even me as a Corsair bull has to come out and go, yeah, it's not great. You got to take it. But the good news is that this isn't a problem with the company. It's a problem with what's going on in the world right now, and this probably will come a common theme in these earnings as we go forward, and we hear a lot more about supply chain issues and logistic problems. After a slower start to the third quarter of 2021, we have seen a return to more typical seasonal ordering, with September being the strongest month of the quarter. So it does seem like there might have been a little bit of weaker sales as well in there for some other products. As a result, for the third quarter ended September 30th, we expect net revenue to be around 391 million. Based on what we know today, we are also updating our 2021 annual net revenue guidance to 1.8 billion to 1.925 billion. So yeah, that was the drop there as well, and they'll update EBITDA and everything on when it comes around to the earnings. Obviously, yeah, not great. It's not great, and to kind of put it into context, that they are now going to do 391 million. If we go to the average estimate here of what they were expecting, 484 million. So you can see that is a massive drop off from what Yahoo Finance analysts had expected from the company as well. So yeah, it's not great. From what we can see, the earnings are probably going to be a 2 out of 10 or something around there. But what I've got to say is that it does also show how good them Q2 results were. Q2 was excellent for this company. And if you go into the earnings call, and this was what it said, is that they actually could have had tens of million more revenue if it wasn't for the supply chain issues in Q2. And Q2 was already amazing. So it does show that Q2 was, even though it dropped 9% when Q2 came out, that was a massive overreaction, and those earnings were solid. And it's funny just to see, like, we had good earnings last time and it dropped, and now we actually have proper bad earnings and it just drops the same, which kind of sums up the stock market right there. But going back to the actual earnings themselves, and my thoughts going forward, of course, here is that obviously this wasn't good, but the thing is, now we know that that's all priced in. We know that unless Q3 has even worse numbers than what we were expecting, then we know what the situation is. We know Q3 isn't going to be good, and the big question comes around this logistic problem. Like I said, this is for me, as someone that invested in this company for 2 to 5 years, I'm not really looking at this as what's going to be the logistic issue and supply chain issue in the next 3-6 months. I'm more bothered about where the company is going to be in the next 2 to 5 years, and I believe that over that period, gaming and streaming will grow a huge amount. And I feel like that problem will sort itself out in the next coming 12-month period, which, as a long-term investor, I'm happy to wait on. It's not something that's not something that will affect. I will make a decision on and change my investment because of that situation. So for me, as a long-term investor, a little bit gutted, a little bit of a sting on this earnings report, and it's not good. I'm not gonna. If I own a company, I'm not going to cover my eyes and cover my ears and not see what's going on. It wasn't a good earnings report. But from a long-term basis, over 2 to 5 years, And judging what we've seen only from 3 months ago, Corsair bring out some amazing earnings with still supply chain issues. Um, it's not something that I'm going to panic sell on these earnings. I'm going to still be very happy to carry on holding my shares. I think that when this issue goes away, Corsair will be in a strong position like it has done before this one earnings. The earnings have been fantastic. So yeah, for me, just happy to kind of hold this one. Obviously, I hope that when we get to Q4, the issues have calmed down a little bit, even though I feel like it will be probably Q1 where that happens, as I feel like it probably will stay the same while we go through the holiday season. But I think when we get into the new year, then it will calm down. So I do feel like we might have another quarter of this. But overall, for me, as a long-term investor, when I'm in this company for the next 2 to 5 years, this is an issue that I'm happy to kind of just sit on and wait for it to get past, really, as I feel it will sort itself out. So yeah, overall, that's my thoughts on it. You know, I'm gutted, but I'm not. It's not changing my opinion on the company. I still believe in it in the next 2 to 5 years, especially with the game and streaming growth. So yeah, that's my update on it. Yeah, obviously disappointed, but not any change of where I see the company going in the long term. It's just in my point of view, this is just a short term problem anyway. So hope that was useful for you guys. Want to see Corsair update? If it was, just hit that like button. That'd be absolutely amazing. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.